All right, everybody. We are officially live on YouTube. It is Wednesday evening. I am Texas Garden Guy, and this is the Garden Party. This is the Garden Party, and we want a garden party with you. We talk about the plants we grow and some things you might not know. The Garden Party. All right, Phil, introduce yourself, dude.
What up, everybody? Your favorite plant parent and regular parent getting through every day. Back on his favorite part of the week where I can nerd out on plants. The garden party.
Yes.
There we go. Phil, I hope you're being nice in your introduction. You didn't say anything
Nope.
about me.
Oh, Dustin, your headphones are back on, man. Uh-oh.
Oh my goodness! You make sure you get all the and make sure you get everything out mean before I get my headphones back on. So I appreciate it, Phil. Thank you very much. Always happy to have you, buddy. My configliere, my partner in crime, my partner in Zion. Or what do you call it? Like I'm trying to think of
Zion.
Yeah, I said Zion.
You said Zion. I was like, ooh, I could go with that. The Zion.
Yeah, it's partner in Zion. There we go. I was trying to think of something rhyme with crime. My partner in lime. But yeah, always happy to have you, dude. And we have our other guest, Miss Deserae Lindsley from Austin, Texas. I said Lindsley. It's Lindsley.
Lindsley with an L.
With an L.
Yes.
Introduce yourself, Des.
Hello, everyone. It's Gardening Des. Gardening with Des. I can't talk to you tonight either. Your favorite bug person with barking dogs.
I hear a fur baby in the background.
I thought it was a dog or a chicken.
Because it very well could be a chicken, right?
It very well could be a barking chicken in the yard.
I think he's quiet now.
Okay.
Yes, I do have 2 chickens, 1.5 chickens inside the house right now, and an elderly dog that's going through it. And he's the one currently yapping. The other one was Louie. I'm so sorry about that. Okay. And I'll let somebody else introduce themselves, and I'll talk about bugs in a little bit.
I got you. Go ahead. Well, we have a returning guest, and we love having her on. She's from Indiana, right, Jessica?
I am.
Indiana. So she is way colder than the rest of us right now. I'll let her introduce herself. This is Jessica from Dream to Seed. Welcome.
Yeah. Thanks, which I just realized I did not change on the screen, but I am from Dream to Seed. My name is Jessica. I'm a master gardener in Zone 7B in Southern Indiana. I love to grow veggies, and when I'm not gardening, I do online ESL tutoring. I have some students in China, and I do theater choreography.
No big deal.
That's really cool.
That's really cool.
I like a variety of things.
You stay very busy. You stay, and I remember the first time we talked, you were talking about how you teach English to the Chinese on your computer, and I saw like your background. It's like you would teach kids.
I know. Well, actually, I literally just took it down because I was afraid it was going to be distracting. But I have all my Chinese New Year stuff normally up, and I was like, "Ooh, that's loud. I need to take that down."
Oh my god! And I work with a Vietnamese. Right when I say I work with a Vietnamese lady, it cuts me off. But she was talking about Lunar New Year and everything, and talking about some of the crazy traditions and stuff. I was like, man, I need to look some stuff up on that. That's very interesting stuff. But we'll talk about that because you might know some stuff that you've been talking about. But we'll introduce our first time guest. We got Kelsie from Kelsie's Garden. Welcome, Kelsie.
Hello, guys. I'm Kelsie. I live in downtown Austin, so I have a very different approach to gardening than most people, given the fact that I don't have a yard. I have a patio. So
that's fabulous.
I'm entirely in containers, and most of them are in my living room as we speak.
No, that's awesome. You and Des might be like neighbors, by the way. I know Austin is big, but y'all could be very close to each other and not know it probably.
We really aren't necessarily too far from each other. Like I am down South Congress area.
Yeah.
I can see downtown from where I am on occasion. It only takes me about like 11 minutes to get over there. But I actually, my first garden in Austin was balcony gardening as well. So I think that's really cool.
And I had a balcony garden in grad school.
He had fig trees on his balcony.
I had 7 fig trees on a balcony. I was testing its limits, let me tell you. But and then like I saw your setup, and it's fabulous. Like I think there's so many gardeners out there that always start. I mean, I joked with Dustin, you had a balcony garden too, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I was talking.
I was on a 3rd floor balcony, and it was I carried a lot of soil upstairs, and it was a corner one, so I had 2 sides too. It was so nice.
Oh
yeah, I've got a pretty big space. I'm on the 3rd floor as well, and I will say the Academy wagon is the best investment for bringing things up from the garage.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's always really cool to see like what people do with their space, because you have some people that have like Jessica, you have a couple acres, right? Are you in an acre lot? I think. Remember? I
have a half acre. Yeah, so I'm in like definitely suburban gardening. Yeah.
Right, and it's cool to see. You don't need a bunch of space to grow a lot of food. I mean, it's really about just utilizing your space efficiently.
Yeah.
And being able to grow so much, and and y'all have other issues, not on space. Like it doesn't hardly rain in Austin, like ever, too. So that's another issue.
Lately, for sure.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So my
watering can is my best friend.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, here's a cool tip I'll give you, because I did this in my apartment. So my kitchen sink was like, I don't know, 10 feet from my patio door, and I installed a quick connect adapter onto the faucet, and I put a shrinking hose that would quick connect onto there, and I'd run water out to my back porch, and I would use the kitchen sink to water my patio. And I was like, this is cool.
I have attempted that. I have the shrinking hose and everything, but I don't have a quick connect adapter because it won't just.
Some of them don't.
I got some sort of adapter that was supposed to be able to screw into my kitchen sink, and it won't work. Yeah. So I am probably going to have to attempt the bathtub faucet next and see if that works. Because they're both kind of the same distance from the patio door. So it's kind of an experiment at this point.
And watering cans can be all like, what I'm using right now is I've got a 2-gallon battery operated sprayer from Northern Tools, and I'm using that to water everything in my garage right now. And I put buckets out in front of my house because I don't have gutters. I've been collecting rainwater, and then I use a little screen, and I fill up my 2-gallon sprayer to water everything in my greenhouse and in my garage right now. And I have noticed a huge difference in my seed starts and how my strawberries and stuff are doing with just watering with rainwater. Oh my God, it's a huge difference. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, it's such a huge difference. So
nitrogen.
If all else fails, you could always get like a fountain pump or like an aquarium pump and some tubing for aquariums, and you can fill your tub up and totally turn that pump on and run the water out to what you need to water.
I bet you get crafty with it.
I have done that with
and then just kink the hose. Yeah.
Yeah. No, if I lived in an apartment now, what I would probably do is have like a rain barrel out on the patio, and that way I only had to run water out to it like once a week.
Yeah.
And then just empty out their rainwater. It's like but it's gonna freeze too. You gotta worry about that right now.
Maybe I'll try that in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
I lost the hose already this winter, just being like, I got stuff going on. And I went outside and I was like, yep, look. And it's just shooting like from the faucet, just shooting water to the ground. The hose had exploded, was over here. And I was like, that's all on me though. That's on me.
Yeah. How cold is it? How cold has it been in Indiana right now, Jessica?
Well, as I was telling, I woke up this morning and it was 6 degrees. So, but that's not necessarily, like I said, we get like 2 weeks every winter that are pretty bad. And this time we just happen to get over a foot of snow, which is the most snow we've had in probably 8 years. So I was just thinking, I'm like, you were talking about rainwater. I'm like, I have an empty rain barrel. I should just go dump a bunch of snow in it, and then I'll have
the snow. Yeah,
there you go.
That would work.
Rainwater for my seedlings. Yeah,
there you go.
Water's not an issue right now. So
no,
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Are y'all close to the lake too? Do y'all get the lake effect? Like I know in some parts of Indiana, you get that lake effect where it's like super cold.
No, so I am
No.
literally at the bottom, right outside Louisville, Kentucky. So
Nice.
I'm like 15 minutes from Louisville. So I'm at the
Look at
very
that.
bottom edge of southern
I had to
Indiana.
go on Google Maps and find you because I knew Indiana, but Indiana is a bigger state than I thought.
Yeah.
Which people said about me where I grew up in Pennsylvania. But it's a cold winter for everybody. And you hit the nail on the head like before we went live where you're like, these are the 2 weeks that are just really rough. And I think everyone's saying that right now. Like, especially here in Wilmington, people are like just not prepared for consistent below freezing temperatures. Like it's exceptionally cold for us over here. And it's getting in the way of my business on the side of fig propagation because I do it in my greenhouse and I'm doing all this retrofitting to try to up the insulation and R value of the greenhouse. And I just don't, that's taking up time of me where I could be propagating. And it's tough right now. Everyone's feeling it.
Honestly, I would love a greenhouse. I just don't know that it's going to be worth it for me to have. Maybe it would extend my season a little bit. Right. And I think for plants like figs that are so borderline hardy in my zone, it's a place where I could put them, but I would have to heat it so much over the winter to actually keep other things, going inside of it. So I keep debating maybe just a small one. A small one for
fun.
Yeah. But I wanted to plant, I have a brown turkey fig that does not like this container it's in. And I started to plant it in the fall and I was like, you know what? I'm so glad I didn't because now it just would have completely been destroyed, I think. So
you can always prune those down to the ground every winter and do like a rejuvenation prune and it might make it through for you. But it wouldn't be a fig tree, it would be a bush. But
that's fine.
Give it a go.
For me, it was getting kind of like my greenhouse was doing great, and without a heater, the days that we had sun, and then there was a couple of days where we didn't have sun at all, and it was starting to drop below, 50 degrees. I want to keep. Everything in my greenhouse has survived down to like 33 degrees. Like I pushed my plants to even my plumerias. My plumerias were outside down to 33 degrees. Like as long as it's not going to get anywhere near close, and it got really close a couple of nights. So I figured everything in the greenhouse, as long as it stays above freezing, will be okay. But then I wanted to keep a bunch of propagations in there too, and I wanted to have a better success rate. And so I used to run like 15 heat lamps to my greenhouse and hang them, and I had like waterproof surge protectors and have them all plugged in. And I started popping my breaker because everything in my garage and everything on the outside of my house are on the same circuit. And I was like, yeah. And so
you need to take like a paper clip and like latch it to the breaker to make sure it doesn't pop.
Man, I work with electricity. I know how bad of an idea that is.
That's the worst idea. I said that facetiously, but I've definitely popped mine, but I had like a grounding thing on mine out by the greenhouse. But we can get a little excited. What's the law? It's Parkinson's law of greenhouse. So like it's another space to put things. Therefore, you will fill up the entire space.
It's never big enough.
You know what?
It's never big enough.
I'm gonna have to take a video of this. I'm so silly for not having done so already, but I will before this cold comes in this week. I have an eggplant, like a Black Beauty eggplant, thriving a little bit still. It's still got leaves on it because it's microclimate. So I had it planted in a place that it would get part shade in the afternoon, but it's part shade from a bur oak, and the bur oak dropped all of its leaves. And so it's getting the first sun in the morning because of the way the sun is also moved in my yard. And so that thing looks awesome. And I'm like debating, should I put a bucket or something on it like when this cold comes? Because I want to see how long it'll go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
I also, back to your, like, Jessica, you were saying, like, you're not sure if you, like, need a greenhouse or whatever. Like, no. Like, you can use one, trust me. And
if I have one in Texas, you could use one in Indiana.
I know.
And so, like, I really thought about, and I know you guys know this because you're a master gardener too, but I really thought about where I put my greenhouse in my yard. So my greenhouse also receives first morning sun. And in the winter, because my neighbor's trees lose leaves, it has that sunshine all day long. But if I'm not careful and I don't have shade cloth on it, it can still get up to 100 degrees in there in the winter.
Damn.
And
Oh,
so
wow.
I think that you could get away with it
Okay.
if you put it in a really good spot that it captured that morning sun, and you had like something like big paver stones on the ground, because the paver stones will hold that heat too. And then I use this trick of like putting all of my plants into black containers inside the greenhouse, which
Oh, smart.
also
Yeah.
keeps it warmer. So I would love to
Yeah,
see you with a
I know.
greenhouse.
We have this horrific trampoline in the backyard that's like on its last leg, but my kids just love it so much. And so I'm like, when that thing goes, and it's literally sagging to the ground with all the snow. And
Oh
so
my
I'm
God.
like, I feel like it's unsafe now. But when it goes, I'm like, I really want a green. I thought that'd be good. The problem is the best spot in my yard is where my garden is. And so
Oh yeah.
it wouldn't, the way my house is situated, it would get noon to like evening sun. My thing is, it's just, I have a pretty good space where I start on my seedlings. So it's, that's one thing I would use it for. And in the winter, I do have big container plants. I have citrus trees and an
Yeah.
olive tree. And I think even in a good spot, I might still have to heat it in the winter, just depending on what kind of greenhouse it was. So in my mind, it's like, well, is it worth it? Is it not? I don't know.
I do heat mine, and I use the same greenhouse heater that Phil does.
Okay.
And mine is running right now. It's got a thermostat on it. And so I set the thermostat, and whenever it gets above or below that setting, it automatically kicks on. And it doesn't cost me a ton of money extra to run it or anything like that. And it's just out there like on an extension cord.
Yeah, that was my next question, because I'm like, it wouldn't be close to my house. So I'd either have to have them run electric out there or like run an extension cord.
Oh, it's on one of those
Yeah.
giant like orange extension cords on its own breaker.
I had to have them. I added a breaker and I had to put an outlet underneath the breaker box. And I said, if anyone asks, I can say it's for Christmas lights.
Mhm.
And so I ran a long extension cord into my greenhouse, and it's doing good. It's doing really good.
Okay.
And then so you could always use more breakers and outlets. So
Mhm.
You've convinced me. Okay. I need
And make sure you call 811 or 411, right?
before you dig anything,
Because I did, and I learned how to split cables really well.
you're lucky you didn't get shocked, dude. You're lucky you didn't get hit the wrong line. Well, and that's why people ask me, like, they ask me all the time, why don't you have more stuff in the ground? Because I did 811 when I first moved into my house, and there is so much stuff in my backyard. And even the spots where they didn't mark anything, I dug and I still found stuff. So, like, you gotta be careful. You gotta be so careful.
Yeah.
But you do everything in your containers, right, Kelsie? I mean, everything in your house is in containers. And
Yeah,
is it all inside now?
Most of it is inside. Everything that's movable. I keep a lot of my planters on rollers so that I can move them as I need to, especially if we're going to get a big windstorm. I don't want anything falling down. So I just roll it all under the cover. And then when it freezes, it gets into my living room. So it's all like in this vicinity right here. I've got my lemon tree, my peach tree, some peonies that are sprouting because they don't know what season it is.
Right.
Like I've got little red shoots coming up, and I had just cut them back, but they're ready to bloom again, I guess. So here we go.
I don't know anything about. I've gotten several DMs about like peonies, and I know nothing about peonies. I couldn't point them out in a bouquet if I knew what they look like. Do you grow peonies from seed, or like or what do you do with them?
I got bare roots the year before last. So last year it was primarily just foliage because they usually take a year or so before they actually produce a bloom. But they basically just look like a rose on steroids.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah,
beautiful.
just like extra bloomy.
Oh, I love mine.
They're so pretty.
My friend Catherine's really into flowers, and she grows those. And she really likes what are they called? Redunculus.
Yeah, I love those too. I grow those. Yeah.
Oh man!
Doesn't it sound like it's a Harry Potter spell?
Redunculus.
100%. Well, like another plant that looks like rose is kind of a camellia.
Mhm.
Yes, camellias
Every
are
time I
great.
talk, but I kill camellias every time I get them.
Really?
I think it's too hot here.
They
It's
like
too hot.
colder weather for sure. Kind of
Got
like
it.
peonies here. Like my grandfather, he grew peonies in the ground in North Texas. And some years they came up and some years they didn't because some varieties need a certain amount of cold chill hours in order to really germinate. Some people dig theirs up and put them in the freezer, but really they do best as like, you know, to keep getting that cold temperature exposure. But
Got
not
it.
all of them. I no peony expert, but
No.
I do know
Yeah.
they do need that cold temperature.
Mine are
And
mine
they're winter blooming, or they're like early spring
no,
blooming?
they're early spring. Mine are in
Yeah.
Got it.
ground. Yeah, mine are in
Because I
ground.
learned with camellias that there's like the sasanquas and japonicas, and they flower at different times. And the only reason I know this because I'm part of the hobby greenhouse club here in Wilmington, and another counterparts like the camellia club. So I presented to them, and like they're much slower growers than figs. So I was really fascinated by. But you can have so many varieties, but they
Yeah.
grow like 6 inches a year. It's crazy
If I don't kill them first.
if you don't kill them first. Yeah. Well, Kelsie, what color your peonies?
I have two that are your classic light pink, and I have one that is more of like a magenta color.
Ooh, I like those magenta
I mean,
flowers.
I haven't seen them bloom yet, so stay tuned.
It'll be a day. It'll be awesome.
But it was kind of an experiment. I grew up in Oregon, and peonies grow like a weed there. I mean, you can divide them and just transplant like crazy, and they will still thrive wherever you put them. So growing them in a pot in Texas has definitely been a learning experience because they like to be consistently watered, but they don't want to be too wet and they don't want to be dry. So it's just like battling the moisture content of my containers. And at least I have a little bit more control over that because they're in a container. But then, you know, having to fertilize it and figuring out what it likes and what it doesn't like and moving it around on my patio as much as I can to figure out what spots it's most happy in. Because I get a lot of afternoon sun, which is really harsh. So I have found that there's a wall on my patio that kind of shades throughout the day, like the hottest part of the day. It's shaded. So it still gets some dappled sunlight and it seems to be really happy right there.
Nice.
So I'm excited for this year and hopefully we'll get some flowers.
That's so interesting.
I love it.
There's always like, so I love gardeners have their like pet projects. Like, I'm going to make this work. How do I make this work? And there's so many trial and errors to get that. So it was great hearing that background story on that. And from the fig world, obviously, like people are trying to figure like the best way to propagate a fig cutting, and everyone has their like method. Like even to the like, you got to do it on a Tuesday after you eat fish while you're standing on one foot. Like who knows? But like, you depend. And I say it humorously, but in reality, there's so many like trial and error, like research ways you can go about it. But it's nice you've dialed in your space. It was so cool to hear that. I was actually going to ask about like urban heat effect on your patio. If you get experienced that at all.
It definitely gets really warm.
Yeah.
So especially the way that I'm facing kind of southwest. So I get a lot of afternoon sun, and I do have some big crepe myrtles that are out on the terrace. So those kind of give me a little bit of shade, and I can put the sun loving things in the sun spots.
Nice.
And my patio does have enough space where I have designated, this is shady, this is sunny.
Yeah.
And I have a covered section right out my door that is completely shaded. So I have a lot of my houseplants go out there during the summer just so they can get some fresh air. And they seem to love it. They don't ever get too much sun. So I can bring them back inside, no problem.
So Kelsie, how big is the area you grow on?
That's a good question. I've never actually taken a tape measure out there. I would say it's probably like if you're taking some big steps, maybe 20 paces.
Oh, okay.
And it's probably about 7 to 8 feet wide.
Okay.
It's a nice space for a patio.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, you can see it on my Instagram. I've got some pictures and videos that I've taken out there. I have a hydroponic system right in the middle, and just put a heater in that. So I've been using that to water other plants as well.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Warm water.
I did see that. I also saw that you have do you have a raised planter that you've got an in planter greenhouse that's zippered?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Those
it's a
look really cool
pop-up
too.
that I put the little frame in every winter, and it has a in-ground compost bin in it. It's like a mini compost bin. So I've got probably about 1,000 worms in there that break down my kitchen scraps.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's like a sub pod, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I love those things. Those are so
I know
cool.
the actual sub pod business went out of business, sadly, but I love the concept of their in-ground system. I had one at my house when I had a backyard, and I loved it. So I knew I had to get their little above ground system as well.
Yeah. I love that. I don't have anything growing except for accidents right now. I've got kind of survival of the fittest going on.
Happy accidents.
Yeah, happy accidents. Right now I have a lot of Greg's Mistflower, and I don't know how. Well, yes, I do. It's getting hit by morning sun immediately in the morning, and I know we got cold enough to just take that stuff out. And Dustin, you're muted. And it's still going strong because the sun hits it first thing in the morning. But I do have other things that are not doing as well. So it's just really random.
Well, you do have a thriving eggplant, so that's good.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's surviving. I don't know that we could say it's thriving, but it does have some little fresh leaf buds on there, which is miraculous.
Yeah.
Let's just say.
Very exciting.
More than I have.
I'm like, wow. The other day I told this butterfly, I was like, you are so confused right now. Like it's about to be so cold. Why are you flapping around at the moment? And then that took me down a rabbit hole of learning all about butterfly hibernation and estivation. And I can't wait to share that soon too. It's very neato.
Yeah.
I can't wait for them to be back.
Yeah.
Oh, they'll be back soon. Don't worry.
I'm ready.
They're not actually even gone. They're just sleeping at the moment. They'll come back out
when
when
they go to sleep.
So it's really interesting. Butterflies, well, it just depends. So usually what happens when we don't have like an interrupted period where like it's warmer than usual, they will
I'm back.
go to yay, they'll go to leaf litter, and they will go into hibernation for the winter or estivation for the winter, where they will either be an adult caterpillar that just goes into a diapause and just their metabolism slows way down, and they don't grow anymore and they don't eat anymore until the temperature returns to like a favorable temperature, and then they'll come back out, they'll eat, they'll go into their cocoon or their chrysalis, and then they'll emerge when it's time. Whereas like the adult butterflies, generally they don't necessarily make it unless they have like a really warm spot to to like hang out. But for the most part, the thing is that quite a few insects, especially here in Texas where it's really hot, will go into this diapause state of semi-hibernation in order to conserve energy and not to dry out during the really drought-stricken, ultra-hot time periods. And I actually talked about this just a little bit in a video I posted last week about the bordered patch butterfly, which is a super cool butterfly here in Austin. It's super small.
I've never seen it before. It's so beautiful.
It's the tiniest thing. It's like the size of a nickel almost, or a quarter. And usually when you see them, you see like a ton of them all over one plant. And they were like kind of my gateway butterfly. But that one, when I was doing more research for them, I was like, that is so neat. I learned something new. I can't wait to tell the internet about it.
And us, I just learned something new. That's a whole, I thought they just died. So
No,
that's amazing.
I did too, actually, for the most part. Like, I know that some of them kind of have that antifreeze capability to them, and they just kind of like stay as mush and then come back, which is insane.
Like
I
a
also saw
tardigrade or
this,
something.
yes, and I also saw this study recently that says that they think butterflies can remember being a caterpillar.
Oh, that's wild.
Huh.
Interesting.
That's weird. Can you imagine
Back when I was a
that?
caterpillar, I used to eat this all the time. No,
Yeah, and then I had
Yeah.
a weird dream that I was goo, and I came back, and now I'm flying
Yeah.
around.
oh
Yeah.
man,
They
I had the
are.
worst. I had the worst chrysalis. It was so uncomfortable.
I think they're like, to me, it's the monarch migration. How it's the
Oh, it's
sun
so
and like
cool.
latitude and longitude that they use
Yeah.
to navigate down. Like, how do they know
What?
Yeah, that's so
to get
wild.
down
No.
to Mexico of all places, like where they all go? And it's like, it's crazy.
That's
It is
insane.
crazy.
It
And
is.
some of them are annual. I was like explaining this. I think I explained this to Destin recently about how like some monarch butterflies, because he saw them before we had like a cold snap. He was like, "Oh, there's some monarchs around here. They're probably not going to make it." And I was like, some of them are kind of annual because they don't actually make the full migration because
Right.
their cycle
It's
may
like-
be a little bit
It's
off.
like salmon. Like salmon.
Well, it's at least the ones here that come through here. It's like it's like the fourth. I think it's the fourth generation, third or fourth generation, and that's what they call the super generation because that generation actually will live longer than the
Yeah.
previous ones to make it down to Mexico. It's insane. Like,
Whoa.
Like
Yeah,
it's
I
the
know.
coolest thing.
but if you really want to go down a rabbit hole, you need to look at aphids because aphids are the absolute craziest.
And the worst, and I love them,
Yes.
but they're not it.
They are literally
I mean,
they are born pregnant with the next generation, which means
are.
that their aphids have their granddaughters inside of them, which is
Yeah.
Oh my
Wait.
God.
They're born with their granddaughters.
So-
Wait,
they overwinter as eggs,
Right.
and then an all-female generation will be born, and they'll be born as the wingless version, and they
Okay.
will they reproduce
It's terrifying.
asexually. So they
Okay.
basically just create clones of themselves, like over and over. And this will happen for several generations until, because like wingless aphids, like the immature aphids, they don't move very far. So once that food supply is being dwindled, they will suddenly give birth to winged aphids, and which are all female, and they will move to another place and they will reproduce in the same way. And then after, like right before the winter starts to hit, the males will start being born, they'll mate, and then the eggs will overwinter. But aphids, because their life cycle is so fast, they're born pregnant with the next generation. So if you think about it,
It's
like
wild.
yeah. So
It's so
yeah,
wild.
yeah.
they're like Russian dolls of just like aphids.
Yeah.
And they just-
Yeah. It's
Yes.
crazy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Nature,
insane to
it's
think
like
about.
Jeff Goldblum from Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
He's like, well, nature
I
finds
have-
a way.
I mean, there's even, I almost hesitate to even, do I want to say this out loud? There's even this thing where if you really think about it, like your grandma, when she was pregnant with your mom at a certain point before she had you, also had the egg that made
Yeah.
you in her
Oh,
body.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
all three of you were together.
Or-
All you have to do is look at your mitochondrial DNA.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And it traces all the way back.
Yeah.
this
Okay.
is
Mater-
like
maternally.
We just devolved into biology. This is what happens when you get
Yeah.
a lot of female energy
It's-
on the podcast.
Love it.
Turns out we're all just Russian dolls.
it's so crazy. I don't know if it's like what do you call it? Like if I don't know what they call it. Somebody with a psychology major might think of it. But like I was literally just listening to a podcast and they were talking about a guy was having a psychedelic experience, and he was talking about thinking about him as like a sperm cell and thinking about as his brothers as sperm cells in his dad. And he goes, and then my dad was inside of someone else, and then he was inside of someone else. And like literally, I was just listening to that about an hour ago, and y'all just brought that up organically. I don't know what that is. 'Cause
That's
that
it.
is-
It's called quantum entanglement, man. It's just you're part of the
Dude.
whole thing. We're all stuck inside in this cold weather thinking about this stuff.
No, I was
Truly.
outside, so I was outside. Dude, I was outside in this cold weather. It's so weird how like on days
How it actually
where-
makes sense, but it doesn't. But we never think about it.
Oh no, I was changing
Yeah.
the subject.
Oh no,
No,
we're too deep now. We're too deep now. So anyway,
I was
Okay,
talking
but
about how
kind of on that topic before we
No, go
branch
ahead.
off of it.
You don't have to change it. You're good. Go ahead. You don't have to change it.
please.
So if there are rarely male aphids, do ladybugs only eat the females?
So not rarely. It's just that they're produced like later in the cycle. So yes, for the most part, the
And
lady
they're
the thing that because I the only thing I'm not sure is if the males are the winged or the non-winged. I'm not sure
I think
about
they're
that
the
one.
winged. They're
I
bet
think
you
you're
the-
right.
I bet you the ladybugs aren't preferential, and they'll just be like,
Well, it would
Ladybugs
probably
eat anything, dude.
it's probably the females that they're eating because those are the ones that are born about the time that are still being born the time that ladybugs are out.
So they're kind of like honeybees in that there's not very many males. Because honeybees,
yeah.
the entire colony is females, and then there's like randomly some males, but they never have a hive. They just kind of go flying through the air to find.
Yeah, well, it's not that there's not many. It's just I think when they start producing the males, there are quite a bit, probably enough to mate with the females. But like in the several generations before that, there aren't any. And then the whole thing with ants, how they farm aphids.
Oh,
they milk aphids. They even will take
that's
aphid
wild.
eggs to
Yeah.
their colonies. Like it's a whole thing.
Yeah. If you see ants all over your plant, you probably have an aphid
Aphids.
problem because they
Right.
want the honeydew from the aphids, which is their like
Excretion.
excrement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's full of sugars.
Yeah.
Because it's like got the sugars and the carbohydrates when they're doing on the plants.
I have a macro lens, and I was out in the garden, just happened to be out there one day. It's on my channel, and I just happened to see ants and aphids on ranunculus, actually. And so I like got it right there, and you can literally see them with their antenna like milking these aphids.
they were milking them right there. Oh my gosh, I gotta look at this video.
And they'll herd them to like the juiciest parts of the plant, and then even better, about that time, here comes a ladybug.
A ladybug.
And I'm like watching them, like this is the best.
This
day
is
ever.
me
This is
in my
weird.
garden.
And the ants are like defending the aphids from the ladybug. They're like battling it, and it was like I was like, this is the best thing I've ever filmed.
My aphid.
Basically,
That's
a circle of life moment right there.
Yeah,
that is
Yeah.
100% me in my garden as well. Like I am up there in the bees business.
Yeah.
I am as zoomed in as I could possibly get. I have a really cheap, not good at all macro lens, and we have an old digital camera, and I used to try and use it a lot. My husband was always making jokes about how Ansel Adams is out here like taking pictures of the hummingbirds. I would have my telephoto lens and be in the same spot every day, just waiting to snap one. And now I'm the one out there like zooming in as close as I can on the bees with the Colorado beetles inside the squash flower to tell the internet about it.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
That's me with the house sparrows and the bluebirds every day. I'm like,
zooming.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm such a birder now too.
I've really gotten into birds lately. Especially with this delayed winter we're having. You know, it's funny. Like the birds, I'll look up what they are, and they're called like least concern or common. But I've never seen them before. Like the red crown kinglet or whatever. It's a beautiful bird. It says like it's common in this area. I'm like, I've never seen them before. You know, up until a couple of years, I never saw the blackbirds with the red and gold wings. You know, I never saw those before, and now I see them all the time. But even like the little, there's so many cool birds, and I love. I used to have a camera out here, a little camera bird feeder, but now I just kind of pay attention. And the other day, I posted the video on Instagram and everything, but like I was out here on the Blackstone and it was raining, so I had to have my grill back under the garage. But all of a sudden, like a million, because I keep them fed, I put out suet and I do a really good blend. They want suet this time of year. They love that suet, and I buy it in bulk. But all the birds, I heard them screaming, they ran off. And there was a freaking Cooper's hawk just chilling like 10 feet in front of me. Dude, it was so fun to watch him run around. Like he looks like a freaking dinosaur. Like it's so weird watching them walk around. And
they are really called raptors, aren't they?
You guys,
What is that?
You guys can see this, but this is my jar of garden fairies.
What the hell is a garden fairy?
What's a garden fairy? Is that an aphid?
It's
I saw you posted a
Don't
video.
tell me my daughter will lose it. She sees a garden fairy.
Green lace wings.
Oh,
yeah.
And I find them all over the place. They're like my favorite beneficial bug.
Oh,
and
Have you
I don't know,
released them
let me see
before?
if I can. I
And-
did put some cards out. They have, see those iridescent wings that they have? Like, I
Yeah.
don't know if you could see them blowing around. But that's my favorite bug to talk about all the time because they have the coolest and the weirdest like eggs when you find them because they're suspended on this little
Yeah.
strand of filament and it looks like from an alien planet.
It's so cool.
And I think that they're better. The larvae, the lacewing larvae, are better at eating aphids than ladybugs, and they are more likely to stick around your garden.
Yeah.
Plus, all ladybugs are farmed, so
They are beautiful. No,
they are.
they catch a lot in the wild too. They go out there with shop vacs and catch them in the woods.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was my favorite thing in Master Gardener certification. They call them like the lacewing lions because they literally will plow through so many aphids that they just have like aphid carcasses like all over them.
No way.
Yeah.
Yes. They're
All
the
right, I gotta make
best.
sure I have these in my garden space now.
Yeah.
Dang.
So
You
so
can
there-
buy
there's a
cards
couple
with
of
the eggs
yeah.
on them. Yeah.
And
And
there's
I
the,
just
what the larva looks like. Really cool
Yeah.
looking.
They're really
not near-
small.
Yeah.
They're not as scary looking as ladybug larvae, but they do kind of look like alligators, kind of like how.
Yeah.
Oh
Oh
man,
wow,
I love.
that's cool looking.
Aren't they cool? I love them. I think they're just like the coolest little bug.
But
freak
they are
out.
pretty, like you were saying. Like this one over here, that was a pretty picture of one. Like
Yeah, I have like a video of me just like holding one forever, zoomed in, and the wings are like iridescent and gorgeous. And I love seeing them flying around because they are like little fairies. They're just like your cleaning fairy in the garden. They just take care of your things for you. They eat mealybugs too, which is we know how I hate mealybugs.
oh my
so
god,
much.
I had the
Oh,
worst
the
mealybug
worst.
infestation. I had the worst
Oh.
mealybug infestation.
Yes.
Yeah, so I know there's a lot of snow. You just got a foot of snow up in Indiana. What have you started any seeds or anything? Have you planted anything in the ground? Have you done any planting? Are you doing your seeds or what are you doing so far?
I do have a cold frame, so I do have some spinach. The lettuce was doing okay until we got these single digit stuff, and then I kind of brushed off the snow and looked, and it may bounce back, but it looked pretty bad. But the spinach, that's pretty much spinach and kale are pretty much the only things I can grow year round, and it usually has to be my cold frame sunk about 12 inches down in the ground. So
Explain what a cold frame is to some people. Explain what a cold frame is.
So mine is just made from old windows that somebody gave me. And then I had a friend build me a frame and it's tilted. So it's tilted to the kind of like southeast. It gets pretty much full day sun. And then I dug, it looks really similar to that. A little bit smaller.
This guy is everywhere. No gardener.
Really similar to that. And
it's
wood on the side. Mine's just windows on the top. And then I sunk it down. I got this idea from Gary Plarsick. He's the Rusted Garden Homestead. He's one of my favorite gardeners to watch because he is like super into the science of it. And you sink it down about 12 inches in the ground. The downside to that is when we have super wet springs in early summer. So I will sometimes
fills up the water.
Yeah. So I have to harvest everything before then, but I can keep spinach and kale going all winter long in that. I start planting seeds indoors usually end of this month, maybe early February. So I start with like onions is usually my first one. And then I go into like my greens. So right now I'm just in planting stages. Yeah. That's pretty much it. I can grow. I do microgreens inside. I do like sprouts, and I have like an indoor. I can do lettuce year round inside too.
Is there anything? Is there anything you put outside that needs to be stratified, like you put out in the fall?
Oh, so I take that back. I do winter sowing in milk jugs, so that'll go out probably next week. So I do a lot of perennials from seed that need to be cold stratified. I do a lot of my cool season greens and herbs in winter sowing jugs. And so I just stick them out there and they get snowed and rained on, and then they germinate when they're ready. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. People can grow onions like there's usually like two different kinds of onions you can grow. It's like hard neck, soft neck. I'm doing a variety of them here. But you can either grow them in late fall, over winter, or you can do them in early spring. And I think the spring ones will grow quicker. Usually,
do you mean garlic?
Yes, sorry, garlic. I'm sorry. Yes,
That's
yes,
okay. I was
yes,
like,
Hardnick,
what?
Megan.
yes,
Crazy.
yes. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. So I grow both. They have to have most types of garlic need to have that cold vernalization. So for me, I plant in fall. So hardneck grows a little bit better for me because it's more cold hardy. And I like it because I like the scapes. So I want the scapes.
And
but
that
I
only
have
comes
to-
with a hardneck, right? The
Mhm.
scapes only come with hardneck varieties.
Mhm. Yeah, so I grow both varieties, but usually hardneck. So I planted that usually mid-October, and those are under a row cover. They don't have to be. Garlic's super cold hardy, and it needs that cold, but it's the ice. We got snow and then ice and then snow. And the snow, that's fine. It's great for plants for the most
I was
part.
gonna say, it almost insulates them too. In a
Mhm.
way.
Yeah, but it's the ice. So I went ahead and covered them with a row cover, which is currently frozen too, but they should be fine.
I ordered some frost. I ordered some low tunnels, some tubes, and some frost cloth. I've got my garlic and onions, and they're saying there's a chance we're going to get some snow on Tuesday next week. I don't know.
man.
Wild.
So I've got 150 strawberry plants out there. I've got my onions and garlic, and I figure I'm not gonna take a chance. I'm just gonna throw some frost cloth and some hoops, and just play it safe with that kind of stuff. And I did, and you might have. I don't know if you've ever grown artichokes, Jessica, but someone was telling. I was looking some more research into it because I stratified the seeds in the freezer, but they're saying that I have to put the plants out like 2 weeks. They want to experience some cold temperatures for like 2 weeks to a month to simulate a winter, so you can actually get some artichoke hearts out of it. It's weird.
I don't grow them, but I know basics about them, and because they're most perennial vegetables, they need like a cold season.
Yeah.
They do great in containers.
Oh, have you had luck with them in containers?
I had an artichoke in a container in Oregon, and it was very happy in the container. As soon as we tried to put it in the ground, it died.
Really?
Oh dang!
So
That's
I
awesome.
have an empty container on my patio, and now I'm thinking I'm gonna definitely go get an artichoke.
Isn't it weird how some things will do really well in containers, and then you take them like it's almost like they want to be like a little bit root trained, like some plants want a little bit like, and I know you mentioned you had like a peach tree, right? On your patio, and it's in the container. It's in the container, right? How big of a container is it in?
It's probably about 20 gallons.
Okay.
It's not huge,
nice.
but it's not small.
Right.
And it's on a roller. It's a ceramic pot. So it's where it's going to live for a very long time. But it is a dwarf variety that I got down in Fredericksburg. So for those of you who don't live around here, Fredericksburg is
wine
where they grow peaches in Texas.
Yeah.
It's peach country and wine country. So I got a dwarf variety down there, and it was going to produce a lot of peaches this year, and they got annihilated by birds. So I got some of those mesh bags that I will be putting over all the
the organza bags.
Yeah. Do you know the variety name? I would love to grow a peach tree, but they're just too hard to grow here.
I have it somewhere in my notes, and I can definitely send that to you, and I can put it in my story as well. But it does really well in a container, and I never thought that a peach tree would do that well. I mean, it still has leaves on it currently, and I'm trying to get it out in the cold as much as possible so that it does go through a winter, and it goes through the cycle of losing its leaves so that they can all come back and bud in the spring. So it's outside during the day and then inside when it's below freezing at night.
Yeah. So I have a question because I have to do citrus in containers. So I don't know what a normal cycle is for citrus because I had an orange tree, like a Calamandan orange, and it bit the dust with spider mites last year. But so now I have a Meyer lemon and I have a lime. It's a Persian lime. Both I got this year, and they were doing great. They still, I guess, are. But I know that they flower and fruit really in colder months, right? Like
I just figured this out.
Usually now is the time you're picking.
I have the Meyer lemon. I have the Satsumas, so the hardier orange varieties. And then I just got a blood orange, but they will set fruit. They flower in the spring, and if those get pollinated and they don't drop them, it took all year until like November for them to ripen. But they have 2 growth phases after they flower in the spring.
Okay.
And they have like one in the summer, and they have another late fall growth phase.
See,
is what I've learned.
my orange would blossom like late summer, and then it would start to set the fruit, and I would bring it inside and stick it under grow lights. But my lemon tree, and granted, it's fairly new. I brought it inside, and right after I brought it inside, it flowered. And of course, I'm like, okay, and I'm trying to like hand pollinate, but it also dropped a ton of leaves. And like our lemon trees, kind of like, I know they're fairly evergreen, but they do drop.
They're not supposed to. They're not supposed to.
But that's okay because it was inside. It just needed less light. I'm sure that's why it shedded some of the leaves.
Well,
and my Eureka also, when it sets fruit, my variegated one, she's the diva of my garden. Like,
mine over.
And there's yours. And she'll stress out and drop the leaves making fruit.
Well, the only thing I can think of too is it's super humid where I live, and then when I bring stuff indoors, it's so dry, and so it is kind of like a shock to them, I think. Now my lime looks great; it's beautiful and green, no blossoms, but But my lemon tree, I'm like, but I remember my calamine and orange would do that too. It would drop like so many leaves, and then it would leaf back out. So I don't know.
So for me, calamundins just produce all year round, like pretty much. Like I pick them in early spring all year round. I'm still picking them in my greenhouse right now. What kind of citrus is that, Kelsie?
Yeah,
this is a Meyer lemon. I picked all the blossoms off of it this year because it's new, so you can see the trunk of it is still really thin.
Yeah,
so
that's about what mine looks like.
Give it an opportunity to get stronger and, get blown around by the wind a little bit so that come next year, it will be strong enough to support fruit.
Yeah, I'm torn because I have an olive tree too. The olive tree looks great, but
olives can be a little cold hardy sometimes too. So
mine are cold hardy.
This one,
not Indiana cold hardy, but Texas cold hardy.
Yeah. So Kelsie, how often are you watering? Because I'm trying to decide or figure out why it dropped. It doesn't look great. It doesn't look dead, but it doesn't look great. So I'm hoping it bounces back. So how often are you watering?
The lemon, I don't water it very often.
Okay.
Maybe once every other week, if
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's
I
usually
usually
it's on the patio
until it looks kind of droopy, and then I'll water it. And every time I water, I add in some fertilizer to the water so that it can cancel out some of the chemicals that are in the tap water
okay
in downtown.
The fluoride.
The chlorine and all kinds of fun.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Hopefully it bounces back.
I would be careful with the fertilizing when you want it to set blossoms, though, because sometimes the fertilizing can make it drop the blossoms to focus on leaf growth. I have found. And generally a fluctuation in temperature from like outside to inside the house, like if your lemon tree gets like exposed to something like 45 or below, and then it goes into the warm like 65 and up house,
goes into shock.
It'll go into shock and drop leaves.
Okay.
But
then that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. And then
exactly what happened.
Because it had that little short moment of cold, it'll start pushing out blooms because it thinks it's spring. It just had a false spring.
Or it's last bit of energy before it dies too.
Well,
don't tell me that.
No, we're not going to go that extreme. No. No.
I
literally have one that I kick around, and I tell it, I don't tell it the nicest things, and it gave me fruit this year. It's fine.
Yeah, it's like the little fruits are starting to grow, and I'm starting to see what I'm pretty sure are leaf buds. So, I mean, I think I'm gonna go with what Des said.
Maybe it'll be just your inside lemon tree.
There you go.
That's true.
Yeah.
Just put some grow lights on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because some plants just optimizing to the light levels of light will just drop the leaves and put on new ones. If you move an outdoor plant, if you move an out I had some indoor plants that are doing pretty well, and I was getting tired of the gnats, and I took them outside, and they dropped all their leaves because they got more sun. I don't have one south facing window in my entire house. And I took them outside. They dropped all their leaves. I thought they're dead. A week later, it was putting on all new leaves, and they grew. Plants always do better outside. Like indoor
fig trees do that too.
Yeah.
Indoor plant people are just kidding themselves. Plants do better outside, just in general.
They just have to adapt. I think it's just a shock adaptation thing. Like in fig trees, when I'm propagating every spring and I take them out of the greenhouse, I have to like introduce them slowly, and they'll still get sunburnt, shed those leaves, and put out new ones. And of course, they like full sun. But
yeah, I'm guessing that's what was it. I usually try to get them in as early as I can when the temperatures aren't too off. But it was probably nights in the high 40s, and then they get brought in. But my fig trees they stay outside. They're just pushed up against the house.
Perfect.
So and they look terrible, but they usually do. So until they don't. That fig tree too. 2 years ago, I had tons of fruit on it, and this past year it didn't fruit at all. So I know. I really think it does not like this pot. Like it just. You know how they just, I don't know, and maybe just that one, I don't know.
Do you have a south facing like side of your house? Is your house brick?
Yes.
Put it on your south facing side of the house next to the brick, because sometimes if they start putting out figlets too early and we get a cold snap and it knocks those figlets back, you'll lose that entire crop. But if you have a brick house and it's from a south facing side, any kind of tree, if you put it on the south side of your house where that brick is at, with the sun hitting it, it'll add extra heat going into the evening and stuff. Phil, I know you've talked about it before. Like, like your buddy's putting stuff on the south side of the house with bricks and stuff like that.
I do it. Well, we're in that zone here with 8B where I do it with my citrus, and then so like I wrap incandescent lights on it, and then I cover a frost cloth with it, and so I'm going on year 3 with that Awari Satsuma in the ground. But yeah, fig trees, especially up north, that's the strategy, and they'll wrap them in burlap and tarps and put it on the south side of their house just for that thermal radiant heat. If it's not fruiting for you, I would just have to take a look at like if you're getting spindly growth. And if that's the case, you can just lop it all off and give it a big rejuvenation prune.
It's super spindly just because the plan is to actually put it in the ground next year. The downside is it's going to be in the southwest, which is like the worst wind. So I'm going to have to wrap it and probably just bring it down to the ground. But I'm trying to get rid of some of these container trees because I have so many. So I'm going to plant this fig and then promptly get whatever dwarf peach tree Kelsey's growing.
That sounds. I'm excited for that dwarf peach tree for you. Kelsie, has it fruited yet for you, Kelsie?
Yeah, it fruited last year, but
the birds got it.
That's right. The birds got
enjoyed by the birds. So.
It's probably mockingbirds too. Those bastards.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it was. I think it was the ATB birds, the grackles.
Oh yeah.
They seem to stalk the patio, especially when things are blooming and fruiting.
Circling back on birds, yesterday in my tree house, I have my favorite bird in my backyard right now. I have all the seabirds like ospreys, herons, and egrets over here. I have some Cooper's hawks. I have redwings. I have red tails. But I had my favorite is my pileated woodpecker, and it's like this big.
They're big, dude.
They're big, and there's 2 of them, and they were on the same tree, and they were like they were flying around together. So I have these big pileateds, and they make these like tropical like. I'm not going to do the noise, but it's really cool. It's like, and thank you.
Have I shown this in the podcast before? The woodpecker tongue. Keep going, Phil. Keep going.
Whoa,
no, but they were out back, and that's like my big win. I feel like I'm like FaceTiming my mom, and I'm like, hey, they're here. Oh, that's right, because it helps cushion their
brain whenever they're smashing their heads up against the trees. Their tongues help cushion their brains inside their skulls.
I did not know that.
Isn't that bizarre? It is so weird.
Guys, earlier today, I'm pivoting a little bit, but earlier today, I ran across a video. I never stitch or duet videos on TikTok, but I found this one that I did do today about a short-beaked pigeon. Oh my gosh. Have you guys seen those weirdos? They have the craziest big eyes on the side of their heads. They look insane. So if you're on TikTok or anything, you should look at it later because it is so funny.
Oh wow. It looks like a pigeon ran into a wall.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I gotta show this.
Is it like when Olaf gets his nose smushed?
It's bizarre, dude.
Wait.
It looks like a dolphin.
No, right.
Yeah, oh my
Wait, no.
gosh.
That
Yeah.
guy.
Oh no!
Look
Looks
at
like
that
Hey Hey
guy.
from Moana.
It does.
Oh my god.
That is so funny looking.
I'm like
Okay, is
almost
that just like a
crying.
weird
Oh my
mutation, or
God.
are they supposed to look like
No,
that?
it's like a breed of pigeon. I'm trying not to cry like because it's so cute in a
Good Lord, that doesn't even
Is
look
it?
real. That
Looks
doesn't even look like a
cartoonish.
real bird.
Look at
Yeah.
guys.
So wait, is this like something people are breeding, or is this like a wild
Yes.
bird? Okay.
Oh my
And
God.
why? But why?
So if,
But
if
why?
you
Have
For-
whole flocks of these things.
they race them, they use them. So Cog Hill, he has homing pigeons. His daughter's really into, and they go to sales. They go like to auctions, and people buy birds like exotic chickens. They have peacocks, roosters. They have the remember those giant pigeons we saw at Moody Gardens, the
Yeah.
emperor or the royal one. They're like giant pigeons. They're huge.
They're huge.
But yeah, he has homing pigeons. He'll drive them a couple miles down the road and let them loose, and they will find their way back to the house. But people pay big money for that stuff.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
That's crazy.
I think these are great conversations. This is the stuff that's getting us like through the winter when we're like we just want to see green things growing.
These
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
weirdos. I am tripping. I'm so sorry, guys. I don't mean to. Oh, look, my flashlight's on. I got so excited.
Is your
Oh.
flashlight on, or are you just happy to see me?
I know. Oh man, I don't mind the birds. The rabbits for me are a major issue right now.
You don't do you don't. Oh, they.
Like, as in they're just eating your garden.
Eating everything. They will come out and mow down anything. And even like
Oh,
I now
geez.
have to cover any seedling I put in the ground, period, all year long. Any seedling I put in the ground, I have to cover for the first few weeks but right now they like I came out and I have blueberries, and like half of the blueberry they had just completely mowed down.
Oh my
So,
God, I love those fancy pigeons.
Wait, the rabbits took like are just nubbing the bush down?
they'll do it too. I have raspberries they've completely taken down, the canes, like ew, it's so bad.
Oh, that's so frustrating.
It is.
So weird, Jessica. But my
Oh my
grandma.
God, that's a little one. I've never seen the baby one before.
Oh my God, look at it. Don't do this. You know how I get about birds. Okay.
What the heck?
She would go to the beauty salon and get hair clippings. She would ask them to collect them and put it around things like her blueberries, or not blueberries, but her like peach trees and things, and it kept the rabbits out.
Yeah, I know a lot of people around here do that with
I mean, that's-
squirrels. I, knock on
Yeah.
wood, don't have as many issues with squirrels as I do
What do
with
they do with
rabbits.
squirrels? Because I
What does
need
the
to
hair
do
do?
squirrels.
The hair.
The hair, human hair from the hair salon. It works.
Is
They
it a
don't-
smell? Or
Yeah.
what is it?
Yeah.
I'm very
yeah.
low on hair these days.
I
Gotta
have
go ask them for.
yeah.
Just go into a hair salon and be like, "Excuse me, this is a weird request, but can I have your
Like,
entire
get out right
trash
now,
can
bald
full of
guy."
hair?"
Yeah.
You can just walk. You can just walk around with some trimmers and offer to shape men's
Yeah.
backs. You know, you can do that too.
Oh, God.
Like, hey, you mind if I shape your back real quick?
I got a squirrel problem.
You know, I know that sounds like super weird, but did you know that hair salons during the big BP oil spill, like we were bagging up our hair and sending it off to cleanup efforts because they use it in those big, huge, long,
Oh yeah,
Like the
yeah, yeah.
absorption
Like,
tube.
The-
and they would absorb it use the hair to absorb it, which makes total
Wow.
sense because
Yeah.
hair
Pretty
does
innovative.
hold so much oil
Yeah,
about it.
that's true.
We're covering
No,
it.
I have
Blinded.
not tried the hair. I have like it's a powder, and it's has like, it literally, like in the ingredient says putrefied eggs, and so it smells
You're
atrocious.
using Repelzol. You're using
Yes,
Repel-
but
you're
it does
using-
it does work.
Goodness.
I
works.
have some of that. It's bonide Repelzol. It's good stuff.
It's something, but it
It smells like rotten eggs.
yes, but
man.
the problem is it rains or snows or something like every other day here, so
Yes.
then it's like gone. But I found like if I cover stuff, they'll be okay. But I have the biggest issue in early spring when all those herbaceous perennials are coming up. They just mow everything down. It's really hard. Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
it's just been in the last few years, and it's weird because I live in a neighborhood, so you think, but like it's like what's that book, Watership Down, where it's like all the
Mm.
rabbits. I'm like,
Oh, that's heavy.
yes.
I watched that
and
at too young an age.
I will stare out the window and watch like gangs of them like go between the yards and like just it's crazy.
Oh, they
Well, you
told
know-
their friends,
Yeah.
and then their
You know-
friends brought
Oh.
their kid.
I mean, I guess one thing that would work is, I mean, her rabbits taste pretty good.
I've had
Yeah.
rabbit. It is
Yeah,
good.
I have too.
I had rabbit
I
on
have
Easter
too.
once.
I
Um,
love people snoots, guys. Like I
You
can't.
see a
I
little,
have a pet rabbit.
you have a pet rabbit?
I
Yeah,
love
no.
rabbits.
Oh, what kind of rabbit is it?
I have no idea. He's got floppy ears.
is he
but-
potty trained?
He was
Lady
found
Bot?
in the neighborhood. He is potty trained. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
How have I not seen this on your social media? How have I not seen the rabbit?
He used
What's
to
the-
have
Come over. I
outside
gotta
time,
come
but then
over.
he tried to eat my blueberries, so he's banished from the patio
I
now.
know.
Oh,
But you-
see, they'll never grow out of it. You can never train them out of blueberries.
I know.
Even the pets, they just want to eat the blueberry bush.
But the manure's so good. That's the only thing. The
It
only
is.
plus
Yeah.
is these rabbits are pooping all over everything. So I'm like, well, that's
Yeah.
a plus, you know, like
Yeah,
that.
and
I'll
it's
take.
not-
fertilizer.
It's not hot. Yeah, you don't
Yeah.
have to worry about it breaking down. It can just immediately go in the garden. It's fantastic. stuff.
Yeah, and I get a nest of bunnies in my raised beds almost every year, at least once
Oh,
or
how
twice.
I've
cute
s-
is that?
Yeah,
And Tara, it's a little
yeah.
cute. It's
So-
it's an annoying.
It is because I have a dog and like so I have to keep her out of the garden and
Yeah.
then like they'll scare me so bad because I'll come in and not realize they're there and they'll just scatter and yeah. So yeah, that and voles. I had voles for the first time last year.
Oh,
Oh,
voles
Those
are
were
rough.
new. Yeah. In my raised beds, like my big tall metal raised beds.
Oh no!
My
Yeah.
dog used to hunt, like when we were kids, she would like hunt them out of their holes and like throw them in with her pile of toys and stuff.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
My
no,
dog.
we have
does the
moles
same thing.
here. We have like they have big paws
Oh,
and
yeah,
everything.
I get-
like
yep.
classic ones.
Those two.
They will
Those
mess up
two.
your lawn.
Yeah.
So weird. I love them.
I came out one day and all the plants in this raised bed were completely like upheaved, like
Mm.
completely pulled out of the ground. And then I could see the tracks everywhere and this little nose sticking up out of the, and I was like, that's all I want is rodent feces in my food. So
Yeah.
yeah, moles, voles, and rabbits.
We live
I've
in the
never-
city, so
Yeah, you just have
Yeah.
rats and
Yeah.
you just have rats and squirrels. Well, tree rats and regular rats.
hey,
And turtles
better
are
not call
martial arts.
you better not call my mama squirrel a rat.
She's a big fat rat with a fluffy tail. She probably tastes delicious.
Do you get rats? Do you actually get rats?
Friend,
Kelsey, you
I
rat?
will not.
She's talking about her squirrel. She's talking about her pet
No,
squirrel.
but I
she
mean,
feeds
like,
peanuts.
You said rats. Do you actually get rats like in your
Oh,
garden?
you're in.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
I
yeah.
have well, and also have chickens. So
Mm,
chickens attract rats.
Really?
Number one,
Yeah,
yes.
when
And
I
then
was
I
in
have
the
a
house,
couple
I
of
had chickens and had rats.
yeah, and I have a
Oh.
couple of neighbors that also just don't take care of their property, so it's overgrown, so it's plenty of place for them to be. Actually, in my little small pocket, because I'm an older neighborhood, we've got a lot of really mature trees and stuff, so we have more wildlife than you would expect. Like I have a possum running my fence line in the morning and the evening. We have raccoons. We have some owls that have just started hooting in the trees, which is nice. They'll come and take care of those rats for me, in addition to, unfortunately, the snap traps we've had to set. And then we have squirrels. And in North Austin, I know they have I have arboreal squirrels, but there are the black ground squirrels, which are incredibly damaging. And then in some areas, we also have armadillos that will come and dig your garden up just to get to the grubs. And
so
skunks.
cute,
So,
though.
they
And the
are so cute.
outskirts have a lot, like the new development neighborhoods around Austin have a lot of rabbits.
Yeah, a lot of rabbits.
Yeah.
We
But,
also have rabbits and
but-
deer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Deer.
and rabbits aren't usually something you have issues with every single year.
in
It's
town.
usually rabbits are very like every other year. Their populations, they will have a high population one year and then the next year it's down, and because they have so many diseases and stuff like that. So like if you have a bad problem with this year, next year it won't be as bad. because
right.
their populations boom and bust really, really quick.
Interesting.
I've been very lucky in my area that I don't have squirrels yet, but I always tell people, I was like, if I did have squirrels, I wouldn't have them very long. I wouldn't have them very long.
Oh no.
I wouldn't, not very long. And I'll stuff them and send them to freaking Des.
I mean, I used to do wildlife rehabilitation. I cannot help myself. I love the
Yeah.
friends. Like,
I
they're
like 'em
actually
too.
pretty cool little dudes that they have such a short attention span. They're so smart and yet so dumb, and they are excellent foresters. We have to give them that. Also, I will say, when I was in Portland, I went to the Rose Garden and I saw the cutest, tiniest little squirrel I've ever seen in my life there. Like, Oregon has some of the cutest squirrels I've ever seen in my whole life. And I love them.
It's a lot of fun to watch stuff like that because I've watched some. Like, if you like one possum video on Instagram, you just get possum after possum video. And I had no idea that they gathered leaves and stuff and sticks with their tails. I had never seen that before. Like, when they walk around, they'll gather a clump of leaves and stuff with their tails and carry them around with them. I've never seen that before. And so this past year, what?
Oh, nothing. Sorry. We're just going to talk about how cute they are.
Oh, yes. Good. Yes.
I just,
you're good. You're good. I'm going to have to, and my headphones are going to die soon. I need to charge my headphones, and I could not get my other ones to connect. So we're going to end the podcast real quick, everybody. Thank y'all so much for being on. Kelsie, real quick, let everybody know where they can find you and what you got coming up.
Okay, well, I mean, as far as coming up, literally, we have a lot of peas. So lots of peas are popping up in the garden. But you can find me on Instagram. My Instagram is at Kelsie's Garden. Kelsie has an IE in it. It's extra fancy like that.
I'm gonna share your link right here in the comments as well.
Yeah, thanks. So hop on over there. Check out what I'm growing in containers. And if you guys want to see anything specifically grown in a container, let me know, because I am always excited to try growing new things.
No, fantastic. I really love seeing people who are in smaller spaces grow a lot of stuff in containers, because people are always really surprised what you can grow in containers, and it's a lot. You can grow almost everything.
You can grow a lot.
And he uses that space efficiently. It's so nice. So thank you.
I have 20 fig trees in ground, and I still have 3 on my patio because they're just great. This is my plug for fig trees. You can grow them on the patio so easily.
I don't yet have a fig tree, so I think I'll have to get one.
Well, I'll be in Austin in early March. I'll be in Austin in late March, and so I'm gonna try to come see y'all. Des and Kelsie, we'll have to meet up. I'm doing like a veteran garden thing. Like, we're gonna go do some stuff with them. They came to Figtoberfest with people, so it's gonna be fun. So I'll definitely be bringing some fig trees with me. So we'll definitely have to meet up.
You better be coming to my garden.
I was gonna fight the squirrels.
You know what's gonna happen? I'm gonna get you to feed her a peanut.
Not doing it. I've seen him bite you.
This has to happen.
It was one time.
If you've been bit, if you've been bit once, you can get bit again.
That was my fault.
I'll share that video with the group because I have evidence.
You keep threatening it.
Oh my God. Well, Jessica, real quick, let everybody know what you got going on, what you got coming up, and if you got anything to promote.
You can find me at From Dream to Seed on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, maybe Red Note.
What is Red Note?
So, you haven't heard about Red Note? Or is it Red Note? I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, it is Red Note.
So
tell me.
It's another Chinese. It's a Chinese social media, but a lot of people are starting there because of the possible big TikTok news. So, well, I actually, so.
Well, you have inside information on this.
It's ironic.
You work with the CCP a little bit. No, I'm just kidding.
Shh. No, I actually had Mandarin class this morning. My tutor was like, "Hey, are you coming over?" She's been wanting me to come do videos forever. And I'm like, my Mandarin's not good enough yet to speak gardening, but maybe it's a good segue. No,
it's a big market. It's a big market.
Yeah, for container gardening on patios, because that's what it would have to be for the most part. But no, I'll be doing some winter sowing coming up, and I'm actually going to have two full growing guides coming out, one for potatoes and one for onions coming out.
Ooh, I'm excited about that. I'm doing I'm trying to try potato towers this year. So
nice.
I'll have to definitely check that out. Jessica, thank you very much. Well, if you're looking to garden in Indiana or to learn Mandarin, make sure to check out Jessica. I put her link in the bottom.
Ni hao.
Ni hao.
Oh my goodness. Thank you once again for coming on, Jessica. We love having y'all on.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Des, let everybody know what you got going on, what you got coming up.
I am actually working on some more bug videos. I've been doing a lot of research. I have this whole entire thing. I like to handwrite my stuff out. And I have pages of research, and I have tons of raw footage I've been going through in my new office desk space.
Your frog.
Yeah, in my frog, my room of what is that? Front room over garage. So I will be posting some cool pollinator content soon. I'll also probably be talking about wildflowers. I do this annually every single year, even though you should have had them in the ground last season. You can throw some in the freezer and force some this year. And we'll also be talking about native and adapted plants, and we'll be getting tomatoes started soon.
Yeah, and do some more.
Please subscribe to me on YouTube.
I just posted the link for YouTube. We gotta get Dez's followers up for sure. And honestly, your videos did really good last spring when you did the chaos method where you put all the seeds together with sand. And those videos did really well, didn't they?
They did, but I really want to redo them because I don't love my method anymore. Because I just would not wet the sand. I still use the sand, but I would not wet the sand this time because it actually spreads better dry. The scatter method.
You can go get some rabbit kitty litter from Kelsie down the road and mix that with the seeds.
I got you.
And then you're already pre-fertilizing some rabbit turd balls with some seeds. And just toss them around Austin.
No. Wildflowers. You know what? Wildflowers don't like nice dirt. They don't like nice soil. They want the worst.
They want
terrible
cracking clay.
Yeah. They literally don't want your help. They're like, we are strong, independent seeds. We don't need your help.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Don't overdo it.
True. It's true.
Oh my God. I saw a video the other day.
Do less.
It was some. I saw a video the other day. It was some hippie with a salt shaker, and he had native seeds, and he was just going through someone's lawn, like manicured lawn. I was like, he should be able to shoot this man. This is insane. If someone, he was throwing like wildflowers.
Dandelions.
Really nice yard, like really nice, well manicured lawn.
No, we don't like monocultures.
Well, he's a big proponent of the kill your yard movement.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan.
Exactly.
I'm not a big fan of like just blah yards, but if I do have to have
do a
one,
grass episode.
I hate grass.
No, I used to have that opinion too, but my since I've become a master gardener, since I've really dived deep into this topic and learned a lot more about how important. God, yeah,
I'm messing with you. I'm not.
You smart aleck. Anyway, but since I've learned so much about grass, the different varieties of grass, and how actually ecologically important some grass is, especially here in Texas, I think it's important that we do actually have a grass episode. I would love to do that.
No,
there are so many different kinds of grasses, so many different ways to take care of it. Beyond that, I do don't go guerrilla garden with the wildflowers in somebody else's lawn.
Yeah.
But in the median.
Medians for sure. Or in between the sidewalk cracks. Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
But not in someone's nice Bermuda grass.
So cute.
Yeah.
It'll be super cute.
Yeah. But grass is super important. It prevents erosion. It keeps our cities cooler, especially in urban heat island environments. I think if we all get to a point where we're xeriscaping so much, we're keeping our local area a little bit too hot. So green space is important. So
for sure.
And it
Like, we
provides
should do
good
that.
habitat for lots of little crawly things and snakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like fireflies
Yeah.
as
As-
well.
I'm so glad I introduced you two because I think y'all could do like your own podcast. Probably like y'all could,
Do it.
yeah, y'all, I could see that.
Also,
for
we
sure.
didn't even get to talk about Kelsey's cooking, by the way, because she just pumped out some
Yeah.
baller sourdough.
Oh,
But,
I love to cook. I tried to
Nice.
incorporate cooking into my little gardening channel. It doesn't really pop off as much, but I'm glad that you enjoyed my sourdough story.
I love watching people's foods when they cook. Like that broccoli. Did y'all see my broccoli and cheese soup?
I
Oh
did.
my god.
It looks really good.
So I didn't think that. So I only had 2 heads of broccoli and had 1 big purple cauliflower. And I was like, okay, let's go ahead and throw that in the broccoli and cheese soup. And I didn't think that it was going to stay purple because usually when you cook stuff, the color comes out. But because we did it in the crock pot, it turned the entire soup like lavender purple. And it was so
Ooh.
freaking good. Oh my God. We went and got some French bread and I was just dipping it in there. And we used our own carrots, our own dill, our own cabbage, our own cauliflower. The only thing we didn't use is the cream and the shredded cheese. I can't grow shredded cheese.
That's
So-
Gardening is so rewarding.
The key hidden ingredient was the dill. I had a dill and dill is somewhat frost tolerant. I didn't know dill was like kind of. I've got dill out there. It's growing like crazy, and it was so good in that soup. Oh my god!
I made beef stew today, and I was out of regular potatoes, so I used sweet potatoes, but I only had purple sweet potatoes,
Ooh.
and it turned the whole stew purple. But it was really good.
With
My kids
sweet
were like, "What
potatoes,
is this?"
really?
Yeah.
Sweet
Oh, yeah,
potatoes
it's so good.
in roast and in beef stew is like the hidden
It's like
everything.
sweet.
Yeah.
I liked it better than like traditional.
so it balances it all out. You get a little
it
bit
was
of sweetness
so
in
good.
there.
Yeah, I mean, it was like almost like a magenta color. It was like the coolest.
Whoa.
I highly encourage, especially like downtimes. Like now it's kind of like a downtime. Phil, you didn't do a cooking video yet.
I know. And you know what? Like I was gonna make. I
every
made
night.
this.
We
And
need to.
when I had 3 kids being like, "Dad, I'm tired of hunger," I'm like, "No, you're not. You're eating pirate's booty right now." But like, but yeah, I know. I meant because I made 3 videos. I wanted to test run it too because I made pozole tonight with hominy, roast pork shoulder, and I ran out of chili powder, so I just tried to use tahini, and it was too limey. But it's okay. We squeeze lime juice in pozole anyway. And then the other, I made beans and greens, which is like a family thing we do with broccoli rabe and kidney beans. And sometimes you can throw potatoes in it, but it's as simple as it gets. But it's like one of the healthiest things when you eat it. It's just like kidney beans or cannellini beans, broccoli rabe, olive oil, garlic, onion, salt, pepper. And that's it.
I eat more like a kid than your kids do. I had macaroni and sausage tonight. Like for
Well,
had
my
chef
kids had.
pizza.
I did pesto pasta, and with pesto pasta, I can sneak so many vegetables into it that my kids don't even see, and fungus. So like I put mushrooms in it. They had no idea there's mushrooms in it. They only saw the sausage part, you know. And
Hey, that's another thing I just started was because I'm not a cook. Well, I do it out of necessity, but it's not my
Me
favorite
neither.
thing
I'm
to
not
do.
a
So pretty much how it comes out of the garden is how we eat it. But so many people ask, they're like, "What do you do with all these vegetables?" And so I started a series, Garden to Table Cooking for Lazy Cooks. But one of the ones I just did that we always do is I make big batches of pesto and freeze them every year. And we do pesto pasta, and we make like a white sauce and then mix the pesto in, and that's all it is. And my kids love it. It's so good.
oh yeah.
So
I want
easy.
I want to try to do more recipes this year. I want to try to do some like green salsa. I'm doing tomatillos this year, so I want to try to do some of that stuff. But yeah, Phil, tell everybody where you're going to be and what you got coming up, dude. I know you got figs for sale.
I got fig cuttings for sale, and it's been picked over pretty good, but I still got some really good varieties up there, like Nicole de Doms and what have you. So scope it out if you want to get some fig cuttings, learn how to propagate. Every order comes with a growing guide on how to propagate your own fig cuttings. And if you already have fig cuttings, just hit philsfigs.com. I have a free guide up there you can just download that I used fancy Canva for. And I don't have any events coming up, but I'm about to dive into my YouTube growing series so we can all grow together and propagate some fig trees. So
let's grow together. Let's grow together, man. Well, thank y'all so much for being on. Phil, Des, Kelsie, Jessica. We did it last week, so I kind of liked it. We're going to do the outro song now. because I actually really liked it last week.
Scoop.
Let's see here. My hand is cramped up like weird. This was the Here we go. This was the garden party, and we're glad we got to party with you. We talked about the plants we grow and some things we didn't know. The garden party. Thank y'all so much, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Sorry for my off introduction.
No, it was perfect.
It was
Thanks
great.
for
We'll see y'all
having
next
us.
week.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.